What's up, everybody? Welcome back to a Chi-Town Blitz video. Got a great breakdown for you guys today, but before I get started with that, make sure to like and subscribe on our channel. Help us continue to grow. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook soon, and also make sure to check out a new Instagram profile for our brand for Six Man Blitz called Six Man Blitz Co. You could get a sweater just like this, a Lamar Jackson sweater. More designs, more stuff is coming out soon, but right now we have this and a Caleb Williams branded hoodie. So make sure to check out that. Make sure to, give us a follow on that if you like our content, and if you like sportswear, check it out. But Ben Johnson is now the new head coach for the Chicago Bears. This is huge news. The Bears got their guy. Last offseason, it was getting the #1 quarterback prospect, Caleb Williams, generational talent, is probably going to have a generational career. Didn't have a generational rookie season. There were struggles and stuff. Things didn't pan out how we wanted it to. But Ryan Poles, give him credit because he got the #1 coach candidate out on the market. Ben Johnson, this guy, Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, kind of level of candidate, offensive mind, one of the best in the NFL. He's cultivated the best offense in the NFL this season, a top 5 offense in the NFL for 3 straight seasons. And what he's done with Jared Goff, the development has been there for Jared Goff. Since 2022, Jared Goff leads the NFL with 13,000 passing yards and 96 passing touchdowns. And this is Jared Goff that we saw with the Rams, struggled. Jared Fisher, kind of destroyed his rookie seasons, kind of fucked up his development early on. And with Sean McVay, he had a really good season. They went to the Super Bowl. You really couldn't win the big dance with Jared Goff, so they moved on from him, traded for Matthew Stafford, and that looked like the right move. And Jared Goff, MVP candidate this year, and the last couple seasons, he's had some really good years, and that's due part to Ben Johnson and the offense he created. He made the offense easy for Jared Goff. He made the offense around Jared Goff, and that's what we want him to do for Caleb Williams. Every season that Ben Johnson has been offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions, they've had 6,400 yards and 450 points each of those 3 seasons. This year, they were first in points per game. They were second in total yards per game. They were second in total yards per game. They were second in pass yards per game. And they scored 33 points per game this year. This is an offense that's been electrifying, since Ben Johnson's been in the building. So losing him is going to be huge for the Detroit Lions, but him coming to Chicago is huge for Caleb Williams, huge for this offense. Pretty much everybody on this team wanted an offensive-minded head coach. Pretty much everybody that's a fan of this team wanted an offensive-minded head coach. And Ryan Poles, Mike McCarthy, Brian Flores, all these candidates were swirling around, and Ben Johnson obviously was the best one. Props to Ryan Poles for getting it done, and he didn't even come to Hollis Hall yet. Ben Johnson didn't come to Hollis Hall yet. It was only a virtual interview, and he was able to get this done and able to, get things right out the gates as soon as Ben Johnson and the Detroit Lions were bounced out of the playoffs. So, yeah, props to Ryan Poles because it looked like Ben Johnson was going to go to the Raiders. Other teams were interested, and it didn't matter. Chicago was the best spot for Ben Johnson. It was the most attractive destination, and, yeah, it all came to fruition. And players that have played for Ben Johnson, Jahmyr Gibbs, all the players in Detroit have said great things about Ben Johnson. They say he instills confidence in his players. He's always cooking up a really good play, really nice play. So he's done a lot of great things in Detroit. So he's, left an impact on his players in Detroit. And the question mark about him is he a good leader of men? Can he lead a group of men to victory and not just create an amazing offense? And I think he can. I'm confident. I'm getting more and more confident every day about that with him. I'm obviously confident in execution, play design, scheme, all that, because he's the best in the league right now at that. He's up there with the McVays and the Shanahans. And that was the biggest thing about the Chicago Bears this last season. Execution, play design, scheme, all that was terrible. All that played a part in, Caleb Williams' struggles, him taking a lot of sacks. Things weren't easy for Caleb Williams. He had a lot of adversity he had to battle, and Ben Johnson's going to come in and make things easier for Caleb Williams. And he's going to create an offense around him. Play action, we need to see that. Hopefully he can create a good run game. Hopefully he brings in a huge emphasis on offensive line. Ryan Poles gets the offensive line together. So, yeah, after this move, after this hire, I'm really back in on Ryan Poles. Now, Ryan Poles has made some mistakes, Offensive line really hasn't been built the right way, but we're in a good spot with cap space. We have a lot of money to use, and we're in a good spot with, 4 draft picks in the first 3 rounds. We have Carolina's 2nd round pick. We have Caleb Williams, our quarterback for the future, the best quarterback, the Bears have had in their franchise. And he made the right move at head coach with Ben Johnson. There's a lot of talented players that are, here for the long haul. DJ Moore, a top receiver in the league. Cole Kmet, Rome Odunze, Darnell Wright, Kyler Gordon, Brisker. You have pieces all around. So this team is positioned to win. Ben Johnson's going to come into a good spot. All he has to do is turn things around with this offense, and this is a team that's ready to compete, I believe. And what a year for the Chicago Bears. Starting the year off 1-0, beating the Packers. Caleb Williams gets a signature win to end his rookie season. You get the best coach on the market. The Detroit Lions get bounced in the playoffs. The Vikings lose in the playoffs. Packers lose in the playoffs. All those NFC North teams look like, they are not as good as they were advertised to be. And Detroit now is about to lose 2 coordinators. Ben Johnson left, came to Chicago. Aaron Glenn's going to leave too soon. So, yeah, Detroit isn't going to be as good as they were this year, next season. The Packers. I think, Caleb Williams is the best quarterback in the NFC North now. Jared Goff, we saw him lay a stinker in the playoffs. So, things are positioned pretty well for this Bears team. If Ben Johnson could turn things around, if the Bears can continue to win the offseason, they are in a good spot. They can win the NFC North. Ben Johnson, even in 2022, with no Gibbs, no Montgomery, no Laporta, no Jameson Williams, his offense was still top 5 in points per game, 4th in yards per game, 4th in yards per play, 5th in TDs per game. So this offense is still effective. He's a great offensive mind. And now he has more talent, I feel like, to work with in Chicago. The offensive line isn't as good in Detroit, but he's worked with less before, as me bringing up this example of his team in 2022. But DeAndre Swift, he's had success with him before. DJ Moore, I feel like DJ Moore is going to get unlocked and is going to have a career year with Ben Johnson. Rome Odunze is going to have 1,000 yards. Cole Kmet's going to be even more effective with scheme, with design by Ben Johnson. Swift, Roshan Johnson will probably get another running back in the mix, but yeah. The thing I like about Ben Johnson is that the passing attack is lethal, but the run game, they run the shit out of the ball. They run it down your throat, and that's Chicago-style football. So Ben Johnson's going to get us back to playing and running the football like we should be. So really excited about that aspect. Caleb, I want Ben Johnson to use, I want Ben Johnson to play more towards Caleb's strengths, and I think he will. I want him to use his running ability, though. Caleb Williams doesn't like to run, but when he does, he's effective as hell. He has athleticism. He can make people miss. Let's do some, run designs for Caleb. Let's get him in the mix, because Jared Goff, that's something you couldn't do with him. So let's use, Caleb's more of his athletic ability, and let's create a even more dangerous offense in Chicago, because Caleb as a creator, he can extend plays, all the things Caleb can do. He's more talented than Goff. So looking at it through all lenses, this offense should be even more dangerous than it was in Detroit for Ben Johnson. So I'm excited to see what he could do with this offense. And then looking at the, coaching staff he's putting together, I mean, you got Dennis Allen potentially coming in as DC. This is a huge upgrade over Eberflus. And Eberflus, he was our defensive-minded head coach. Pretty good defense with him every season. But Dennis Allen, he's year after year, his defense is in the top 10. From the years 2018 to 2024, Allen's defense was 5th best in EPA. So defense consistently, the secondary is good. I feel like this Bears defense has a lot more talent than some of those Saints defenses he's had. A couple years ago, the Saints did have a lot of guys on that team. Marcus Williams, Cam Jordan. They had a lot of talented players, but he could cook with this Bears. He could cook with this Bears defense, especially the young talent in the back end. And Montez Sweat could probably have a better season. Chase Young could come to the Bears. Some of the pass rushers for the Saints, some of the free agents for the Saints could come over to play with Dennis Allen and this defense. So adding Dennis Allen is a huge upgrade, and the thing about him is he's failed already multiple times as a head coach. Nobody's going to take him away. He's going to stay with us for the long haul, potentially for a couple years with Ben Johnson, and he's going to give Ben Johnson that experience. He's a head coach that has, experience through everything, having successful seasons, having not so successful seasons. So it's a good guy to have on the staff. I also like the special teams coach that we could potentially hire. The Saints interim head coach, he had a couple wins. He got those guys playing hard. Really, a good leader of men from the short sample size we saw. So him as the special teams coach, the coaching staff could get a huge upgrade. And then offensive line coach from the Detroit Lions, he's interviewing to be the Seahawks OC. He could come over to Chicago and be our OC. That could be a great boost as well. Offensive line in Detroit, they're up there with Philly. So that would be a huge boost for this offensive line. I definitely think Chris Morgan played a part in offensive line being so bad. So that would be a huge boost. That could be a good thing for the Bears. Hopefully we could bring him over to Chicago. Detroit's going to try to hold on to as many coaches as they can. But whether we get a lot of offensive linemen, quality offensive linemen in free agency, if you have the right offensive line coach, your offensive line is going to play better. So I like that. So Ben Johnson, you get the offensive mind. You don't have to worry about him leaving. You don't have to worry about a great offensive coordinator leaving, becoming a head coach, because you got that guy as your head coach. So look at Dave Canales in Carolina, how that's panned out with Bryce Young. Caleb Williams will be the next example of a quarterback that just takes huge steps in his growth and looks like a totally different quarterback. And Caleb Williams, the year he had, even with all the dysfunction, 20 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, his numbers were very similar to Bo Nix and Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels has been flawless, but I think Caleb Williams, with a Ben Johnson, the right coach, the right teacher with him, he could be at that level too. So the Bears, this is a great start to the 2025 year. Like I said, beating the Packers. Now it looks like you're going to win this offseason. So yeah, plenty to be excited about for Chicago. But I would want him to get an extension done with, Keenan Allen. I would want him to stay with the Chicago Bears for maybe 2 or 3 more years, because he's coming off his best season last year with the Chargers.